The movie opens in Free City, a video game where players with sunglasses are heroes, and they run the town. They can do anything they want, and they involve in action-packed missions. The law doesn't apply to them, and they get to do many incredible things. These players have the advantage over non-playable characters, and one such character is Guy, who works at a bank and has a boring lifestyle. He daily drinks the same coffee he was programmed to, and he thinks it's the best coffee in the world. Later he stops by a shoe store to buy his favorite sneakers but gets disappointed after learning he can't afford them. Guy has a friend, Buddy, a security guard who works at the same bank. They talk about how great their life was before witnessing a store being robbed. Guy thinks he has everything in the Free City except true love. Buddy encourages him by telling he will find someone. Suddenly a gang with sunglasses shows up to declare robbery, and every NPC surrender and lies on the floor. Guy then continues his discussion with Buddy about his dream girl. Somewhere else, a sunglasses character called Molotov Girl meets another player for the information on an artifact she is looking for, and he gives her the location of that secret stash house, but she shoots him when he keeps asking questions. She then walks through the streets and predicts every NPC's programmed response. She starts singing as she walks toward the guy, and he is amazed to see her. He tells her he loves that song, which surprises her as it's not his programmed response. Guy tells Buddy that she is his dream girl as she walks away. Guy gets smitten and decides to talk to her. So he follows her but gets hit by a train. The girl turns out to be Millie in the real world, and she saves the updates. Meanwhile, Guy woke up in his bed and had to relive everything. He arrives at the coffee shop, decides to try something different and orders a cappuccino, which makes other NPCs suspicious of Guy. When he sees a tanker behind him, he calls it a joke and orders his regular coffee with cream and sugar. When he goes back to work, a robbery takes place. When Guy lies on the floor, he notices Millie on the street. But Buddy tells him she is wearing sunglasses and he can't mess with those people. This prompts Guy to get sunglasses of his own. So he tries to get the sunglasses from the robber, only to be beaten up by him. But he fights again, acquires the glasses, and accidentally kills the player with his shotgun. The player in the real world gets shocked. Guy takes the sunglasses and leaves the bank. He puts on the glasses to find various parts of the game, including the bank heist mission. Guy then finds a health kit. He picks it up, and it fixes all of his injuries. Suddenly a player falls in front of him and sees his money around him. Guy picked it up and was surprised to find that money in his account. He immediately gets to the store to buy his favorite sneakers. In the real world at Tsunami Studios, Free City employees named Keys and Mouser get to know about Guy, as they are confused about how an NPC took out a player. Mouser suggests banning the player, but Keys can't track him. Thinking Guy is a hacker and using NPC skin to take out other players, they decide to go into the game in their avatars, with Keys being a stripper cop while Mouser is a pink rabbit. They tell Guy that he can't hack the avatars and warns him to lose the skin, which leaves Guy confused, and they start shooting at him. However, his limited edition sneakers come to his rescue, which provides him with high jumping skills. Guy tries to escape by grabbing onto a wrecking ball, which he misses and falls, but the bubble suit activates and he survives, but Mouser hits him with a car, killing him. Keys is still confused, as even after killing the guy the number of online players didn't change, and Mouser tells him it's just a glitch. Later we see the interview of Keys and Millie, and they have created a game called Life Itself, where Keys wrote the code and Millie built the AI engine. Keys returns home to find the interview playing on his TV, and suddenly Millie appears behind. It turns out they were the mastermind behind Free City, and Keys' current boss, Antoine, bought it and immediately shelved it. But Millie accuses Antoine as he stole their code and used it in Free City, betraying them by not giving them credit and royalties they deserve. Millie asks Keys to help get into a safe house in the game, so she can retrieve a clip, which gives them enough evidence of Antoine's crimes, but Keys refuses to help. Guy wakes up again in his bed and decides to do things differently. Meanwhile, Millie logs into the game and arrives at the gamer's stash house to find many guards around. Suddenly Guy shows up. Soon, the guards spotted them, prompting Millie to open the portal to escape. He wants to join in her mission but cannot because of his low level, 1 to be exact, and Millie is at a higher level. She tells him that he can increase his level by robbing a store or punching a pedestrian, but Guy doesn't want to hurt innocent people. So Millie tells him he can also level up by being a good guy and tells him to meet her after he reaches level 100. So Guy tries fighting against the bad guys and initially fails, but he soon starts doing heroic acts like returning money and helping people around. The players in the real world notice him, as Guy becomes a viral sensation, and they call him Blue Shirt Guy. Some real players get frustrated as Guy keeps ruining their missions while he is running around and leveling up crazy fast. He fights and takes out the bad guys, eventually reaching level 102. Guy arrives at the bank to meet Buddy and tells him he is now one of those sunglasses. Suddenly a robber storms in, and Guy steals his glasses and offers it to Buddy saying it would change his life, but Buddy refuses, thinking it is dangerous. Meanwhile, Millie asks for Keys' help, and he finally agrees to help her get into the gamer's stash house. Millie gets inside and manages to steal the clip. But suddenly there's an alarm, and the guards start shooting at her. When she is about to be killed, Guy shows up on a motorcycle, crashing into the guards. She tells Keys that Blue Shirt Guy has arrived, but Keys can't find any other player in that house. Millie and Guy fight off the remaining villains before escaping with a hand glider. Later, they hang out. Guy takes her to an ice cream stand and orders bubblegum ice cream. Millie was surprised as it was her favorite. By the end of the date, Millie realizes they have a lot of common interests. Guy then kisses Molotov Girl, which surprises Millie. Antoine learns about Guy and wants his employees to keep him because of his popularity. Antoine wants Free City 2 out in 2 days despite it not being fully coded and still glitchy, and he makes matters worse by telling Keys that Free City 2 is not compatible with the first game, so some characters will not return for the sequel. Later, Keys begins to notice something strange about the NPC codes. He informs Millie that their code is in Free City, that their characters in life itself will grow and change and feel real, and the same is happening with Free City. He then tells her that Guy is an NPC and the first one to evolve, and because of the algorithm he thinks he is alive. Keys is excited that their code is working and all NPCs have private lives. The coffee shop barista learned how to make a cappuccino using trial and error, while a bombshell character wrote a memoir on gender roles and patriarchy. He warns Millie that Free City 2 is completely different from Free City 1, as it's not a sequel but a replacement, and Guy's character and their code will be deleted. He suggests Millie take Guy's help in the game to find the original code and prove Antoine used it without licensing it before Free City 2 launches. Millie returns to the game to take Guy to the central hub, where the other players hang out, revealing that the city is a game and he is merely a character. Once he realizes the truth, Guy falls into a funk and loses his cheerful demeanor. He visits Buddy's house to discuss it, and Buddy cheers him up by assuring him that the moment they are experiencing now is real. Buddy helps Guy get into the stash house as he decides to help Millie get the file she wants. The player, Revengeman, is excited to meet Guy as the player in the real world. He lets Guy rob him and take what he wants, and gives him the clip he wanted. He asks Guy to kill him, but he refuses to do so. He brings the file to Millie and hands her the evidence. Guy's no-kill attitude is widespread among players. Antoine becomes enraged and believes Guy will harm Free City 2 sales, so he wants to remove Guy from the game, but Keys tells him they can't as he is an NPC. Mouser suggests he reboot the server so Guy will revert to normal NPC. Guy and Millie see the file in the game, which contains information about an island that proves her and Keys' code. The game is rebooted just as Guy mentions having seen the island before sending him back to the old life. Millie is able to log in, but Guy has forgotten who she is. She asks Keys for assistance, and he tells her that Guy is based on a lovelorn NPC who would never stop looking for the girl of his dreams. Since Guy came alive after he saw her, Keys suggests Millie do something that will trigger his code. Millie enters the game and kisses Guy, bringing back his memories. He takes her to his apartment and shows her the reflections of the island that are visible in the blinds. Millie realizes Antoine has hidden their original build but forgot to scrub the reflections. She informs it to Keys, and he figures out the island is just over the city's horizon. Guy and Millie gather all the NPCs in Free City to persuade them to move to the island and follow their own desires rather than what they were programmed to do. The players are baffled now that all of the NPCs have vanished. Antoine soon learns about Molotov Girl and that Millie is involved. He directs Mouser to delete her and Guy permanently. Mouser begins to manipulate the game's environment to close in on them as Guy attempts to drive outside the city, and without Mouser knowledge, Keys helps them with a ramp to escape from that destruction. Antoine couldn't find Keys but learned he hadn't left the building. Guy and Millie make it to the beach, and Keys helps them by creating a bridge, but Molotov Girl gets removed from the game, and she tells Guy that he has to make it across the bridge to prove their build. Antoine learns about Keys' involvement and fires him, but Keys makes its live stream, and the whole world watches it. Antoine then brings his last effort in the character named Dude, a strong and dumb version of Guy. Guy gets thrown around by Dude, and Buddy shows up help, but gets thrown away. When Dude is about to give him a death blow, Guy quickly grabs his glasses and activates a shield to guard himself before punching him away with a Hulk fist. He attacks Dude with a lightsaber. However, Dude overpowers Guy, and he puts the glasses on Dude, and he sees the world differently. Seeing this, Antoine loses it and decides to destroy servers, realizing that Keys informs Millie about it. Antoine destroys the servers as Guy and Buddy run toward the island. Antoine plans to completely erase Free City. After realizing Antoine stole Keys' code, Mouser stops guiding him because of his friendship with Keys. Now Antoine smashes everything, causing the city to delete. The bridge is being deleted too, and Buddy didn't make it that far, but informs Guy it's the best day of his life and tells him to run. Guy runs fast enough to break through the horizon and reach the island, which is then revealed to the NPCs and players in the real world. Millie makes it to the almost completely destroyed server room and strikes a deal with Antoine to give her the game code in exchange for him keeping the Free City name for sequels and spin-offs. Soon after, Free City 2 is released to abysmal sales, and Antoine faces intense scrutiny at work and in the media. Millie, Keys, and Mouser create Free Life, the game they've always wanted to make with larger environments and more details. Millie must break up with Guy now that she is more committed to the game, but he understands and part ways amicably. Millie then watches a video of Keys describing how Guy's character will always fall in love with Molotov Girl because he devised an algorithm based on his feelings for Millie, which is more like a love letter to her. She realizes this and finds him in town, where they kiss. Guy and Dude have become friends again in the game, but Guy misses Buddy. The game eventually brings Buddy back to life, and the two best friends reunite. Since there is no bank, Buddy asks what they would do, and Guy responds whatever they want. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and enable notifications to see more videos like this.